say Cleopatra was a criminal, Who knows?
I'd like to ask you about a couple of your other films that I'm really a big fan of.
Sure.
One film you did in the early '80s, Fandango. I've watched that film a bunch, and I always forget how you get out of the parachute conundrum, because you're out there and the main parachute has the guy's underwear in it, and of course you've got the reserve chute, but it's like it was really done well, and it's a good movie because it's both a comedy and a buddy film, but it also has great editing and suspense to it.
Yeah. I mean, that was my first film, and that was really fun. And I think working with Marvin McIntyre, he was the actor that played the guy that runs that parachute school. Boy, was he funny. He cracked me up. There were times flying that plane when I just had to look away. I was laughing so hard. It's like he just cracked me up. And he's a non-smoker, and I smoke. And it seems that whenever non-smokers have to smoke something in a movie, the smoke always goes right in their eyes for some reason. It just always happens.
Right.
So Marvin's in that plane doing the flying, smoking that joint, and the smoke is just keeps going into his eyes. It's just a source of incredible enjoyment for me, not for him, but for me. And that was a fun movie to work on, and it's a great road picture. And that was Kevin Reynolds' first movie, also.
Yeah, obviously back in the '80s, that part of West Texas had not been cinematically explored like nowadays. I mean, Marfa, Texas, No Country for Old Men, There Will Be Blood.
Yeah.
All these films have shot there. It kind of has this artistic cachet now, but it must have been. What are your remembrances of that part of West Texas back then?
That was my first time to Texas, and I hear all about it. That's going to be brown and kind of desolate. But the first place we went to was Austin, and I was like, "What are they talking about? This is green. This is lush. This is beautiful." And it wasn't until we started making our way west that I saw that kind of a bit barren. For a while we were in Midland, Odessa, and then we were in Marfa. We were in Alpine. We were in Lajitas, which is different. That's magnificent country. Big Bend National Park. That was incredible. That was my first time seeing the Rio Grande. And I liked all of it. I really had fun in all those places. It's a shame that the giant set in Marfa is just a few sticks now,
Right, yeah.
That's all that's left. But it was really, and that was on the Evans Ranch. They owned all that property. And the Evans family was very nice to us. They were good. That was like, boy, I didn't realize ranches were that big. It was like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of acres. Wow, holy crap,
You did another film with director Adam Rifkin called The Dark Backwards, which is just one of the strangest films, but it crosses so many genres. Can you tell me about working on that film?
I loved working on that film. I really, really loved working on that film. It is an odd film. It's not for the squeamish, but I think it's wonderful. And I think that the vision of Adam Rifkin, who wrote and directed it, is just incredible. It's like every product in the movie is made by Blumps. The way everything in the Roadrunner cartoon is, everything's by Acme. And great work by everyone in it. Bill Paxton, Wayne Newton, Jimmy Caan, Rob Lowe, Claudia Christian. It was just Lara Flynn Boyle. It's just great. I enjoyed working on it. And I'm sorry that a lot of people haven't seen it, because I think it's a very special, unique film.
Was it a complicated makeup thing, doing that appendage from your back?
Well, as it would get bigger and bigger, it was more complex, and then they had to make it kind of animatronic with wires and cables. And there was a point there when I would have to come in about 3 hours early, and for 3 hours I just had to try and be as still as possible, because every muscle in your upper body connects to the center of your back, so it's hard to be that still, especially for me. But and then when we had the final arm on there with all the wires to make it move, it was a bit stiff, a bit like there was no real fluidity to it. So I kind of reversed. It's like knowing the punchline before the joke. So once I realized that, I figured, okay, let's make all of Marty's movements stiff, so it won't be noticeable that the arm is then stiff. And that seemed to work out.
Well, and also earlier in your career, you were in a TV movie, The Billionaire Boys Club, and now there's a remake of it, and you're playing the father. Is that correct?
Yeah, only in Hollywood. Like 30 years ago, I played Joe Hunt, and in the movie, I played Joe Hunt's dad. And that's pretty cool, you know. And it's got a great cast. Kevin Spacey's in the movie. The kid from The Kingsman plays Dean Carney. It should be very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, what is that like revisiting, something that you had done decades ago?
It's weird. It's definitely weird. It's like, because I have a lot of information about the story based on my research from 30 years ago. But it's like, this is a different take on the story. It's a whole, it's a different approach. It is a different story in a way. And so I just kind of, sit on my hat, basically.
Well,
But I enjoyed working on it, and it's kind of fun. We got to shoot some of it in New Orleans, which is a magnificent city.
well, listen, Judd, thanks very much for your time. It's a pleasure talking to you and being able to kind of pick your brains about some of these older films. And the Texas Jack story opens in Houston next Friday. And best of luck with that.
Thank you very much, man. Thanks for having me.
It was a pleasure.